welcome back, everybody, to the coverage of the Montreal tournament that was held last month in May. Um, where, yeah, I didn't have the greatest of tournaments, so I actually sort of rage annotated my games pretty quickly after they were played to see where I went wrong, to see if I was maybe getting unlucky, which is always like the sort of trap that you get into when you lose games. Like, oh, I was probably getting unlucky, instead of trying to figure out where you went wrong. In any case, this was game four, and I was playing Deen Hergott. I had just played Dean the month before, or yeah, earlier in the month of May, end of month of April. In the Canton tournament, I covered two games where I beat Dean in both of those games. So yeah, he was back trying to get back into the groove against me. So I opened with VAU and mentioned that FOU is actually just as good, pretty much, as VAU. It's less defensive. VAU takes an S, FOU takes an L and an R. Does not take an S though. If you're new to the game, you might learn that the hard way. FOU is an adjective from French, meaning crazy. In any case, because F, O, and T go really poorly together, FOU is still a good play here, even though it keeps the V, which you normally don't want to keep a V at all. But because of the fact that F, O, and T go terribly together and VITA is okay, FOU is a reasonable play as well. I don't think I considered it. I just played VAU. Dean plays Who. I played Fawn. I could have played Foin, Foin, which is more defensive again. I have the T hook for OF. Dean might have a T hook as well. I figured that I would open up two spots to go with Font and with Oft potentially to bingo. And I still had the AWE lane, so I thought this was better because I bingoed more. But it could be better for me to just take it a bit more easy and play Foin and not be as aggressive. Dean plays Sprinter. I play Trike, seems fine. Dean plays Blah. I draw the Q. Yeah, this was a slight mistake by me. I really didn't want to make this play, and when you see a play that you just hate, I hated this play because if Dean has an I, I'm just getting killed for 40 points plus on the 15 row. But when you see a play like that, and this happened in the game, I was like, okay, this, like, I really don't want to make this play. What else can I do? What else can I do? And there just didn't seem to be any other option than dropping the Q here. But if I play Meek, AM, and She, I can actually play QI next turn, which would score 26 points as well, and it wouldn't be as dangerous. Although Dean might block that spot, it's still a better option because of how bad this is for me, like short term and long term, because I don't even have an I. If I had an I, this play would be fine because in the off chance that Dean doesn't have an I can play underneath, but I'm only playing two tiles, and the likelihood of me drawing an I after two tile draw is probably somewhere in like the 10% range, and it's not good, maybe 15% max. So yeah, I shouldn't have played this. I should have looked for something else. It just didn't seem like there was anything else. But Meek was a slight improvement. Luckily, Dean didn't have an I play immediately, but he did have a nice play that Meek would have blocked. Uke, getting rid of a Y and a U for 34 points. I don't draw an I, and I play Berm, which looks best. It's pretty aggressive. It sets up some scoring plays, but it sets up a lane on the end column. It leaves as well as I pretty much can with CEN. I mean, MEN would probably be slightly better, but I can't do that. So I play Berm. I'm also trying to draw an I. If he didn't have an I last turn, it would make more sense to play something like Uke. But if he had an I, he might have had like a four tile play underneath QI, scored a lot more than Uke. So there's a chance that Uke signifies that Dean didn't have an I, but he did this turn at least, and plays XI. And at this point, I have to play Yeah, something pretty awful. Just AN, just trying to setting up a lane here. This seems actually like the best play potentially according to Quackle, but the problem with it is that Deen, even if he doesn't have a good play to block, he's going to try to block anyway. So my likelihood of getting a bingo down is basically based on whether he has a good enough play here, slash whether I draw something that ends in E or N or A or something, or maybe something to the L. So this might not be the best play. It might be better to play like AN and on or something. Maybe NA and Ashy. Maybe something over here. Maybe like anal. This is horrible. Horrible looking play. But he plays grind. Um, and he doesn't play it one spot down, which is smart because if he played it one spot down, it would score more points. However, it would allow for triples like regrinds to come down, and that might be it. But RES is very likely to be in my range of letters. Here I draw into cancels, and he canceled my play of cancels, so I had to just play it here pretty much. Um, Oh, okay. I go back here in the commentary. I don't remember this, but yeah, maybe I should play Kana and Ashy is what I was saying. Um, or NA and Ashy, yeah, like I mentioned. Um, anyways, Deen plays Tet. He's blocking off a little bit more stuff ending in A here. We'll still play over here and here, but he's scoring some points as well. He's blocking stuff ending in T mainly with this play of Tet. Yeah, this was bad. I had Fascia at 11B, which is so much better than YA. It gets rid of a lot more junk and digs deeper for the S's and blank, which I desperately need at this point, I think, to come back because look at this board, it's just very bad. Keeping Folia on the rack is just not good enough. I saw that I was keeping Fleek and Flock potentially if I drew an S, but I really need to play Fascia here, score some more points, and yeah, try and draw into something. Deen plays Woe, and I don't have a response to that. Yeah, VAU comes down again, and like when you have to play VAU, then VAU later, you're potentially not in good shape. You could also be playing it for defensive purposes though, so it's possible that playing VAU is good for you, but in this case, it was not good for me. Played it twice. Deen plays mod. He's just doing whatever he wants. Honestly, like there's nothing I can do here. I play Folio, and now I'm down 32 points, and it's still a game. Really is. But yeah, Deen plays Jolt, and now I have 7 vowels. And what do you do here, right? Like this is crazy. You have to exchange. No, you do not. So in this case, if you really start looking a little bit, you might find the only play worth making, which is Asia, scoring 23 points, well worth it over exchanging. So luckily I spotted this one. I missed Fascia, but I spotted this one. Now Deen plays Zag. He actually said he had the blank, and he could have played Azan, I think, with the blank, and he wasn't sure if that was worth doing. And considering the score, it was 283 to 252. If he scores 67 points, he'll be up 98 points. So I figured that was probably a better choice for him, but I wasn't sure when we were discussing it post game. And yeah, here's where I was most disappointed with myself. Like I was obviously disappointed when I saw I missed Fascia and played QI despite probably having to play Meek instead. But here I almost played Lodges. And you might think, why would you use your S, your best tile, for only 4 points? And the reason for that is because there are 2 more S's, unseen and a blank. So I want most of all to draw a blank here, but also an S. and I kind of need that because if he has both S's and the blank, I'm just toast, and I'm also behind by enough to where if I don't score the 4 extra points, I might just get outscored by Deen. So I really had to play Hope Scrabble here and tack the S on, even though this play is probably a better play for point differential for spread purposes, and it was still early in the tournament. I should have tacked the S on, and I saw it and I was like, intuitively this looks good, but I just was like, why would I just remembered all the years of training for this moment of like, do not play your S, your only S, for 10, unless it's 10 points or more, or whatever the current the current rule of thumb is. And yeah, it was a small mistake, but it could have made all of the difference to drop the S because there were so many left with so few tiles in the bag. Of course, this doesn't consider that Deen is likelier than average to have an S or both S's at this point in the game, because what happens in human-to-human play that the engines don't understand, one of the things the engines don't understand is that human beings are likelier than average almost at all times to have better than average racks, and that means keeping an S, keeping a blank with your plays. It just is more likely since you've often been grooming your rack the entire game. Deen has had incredible amounts of time to just play off his bad tiles, keep his good tiles. And so he is likelier than average to have an S, but it's probably just not, it's still not, that actually makes it worse for me to not play lodges, because if he has an S and he's just able to score with it, I'm going to get outscored this game. So Deen plays up, and now I'm like, oh my god, I should have played lodges. What am I doing? The upside as well, speaking of up, to playing lodges, is that Deen is gonna, if he doesn't have both of the other S's, which I pretty much want to assume he doesn't, he's gonna think I have the last S, which I don't. And so he's gonna spend more energy trying to block the jolt spot, even though it's a very unlikely spot for a bingo. It's his biggest threat here because look, the C is here, the V is here. There's nowhere else to bingo on this board after lodge or lodges that he's just going to block. I guess he's probably going to block no matter what, but it's another aspect of the play that might lead Deen into error. And here I might want to play ethics instead of etic, not only because it might lead to more bingos being threatened here, but like him trying to block, and then I don't know. Again, I think it has to do with score. Yeah, and the fact that, yeah, what I said in this comment is very important. I mean, look at the unseen letters: ADILNNORRRST blank. The only thing missing here is an E, which I'm giving Deen with my play of etic, and it's just very likely for him to bingo. And if I play ethics, a lot of his bingos are going to start at E1, and then I can triple and win. So that was potentially the idea of playing ethics over etic. And look, I did draw another S, but I think I should have played ethics. And then you might be thinking like, well, if I played lodges and drew the S, I wouldn't have really the opportunity to play ethics because I'm not keeping an S afterward. So anyways, like, this is just one iteration of the game, but my plan, of course, with lodge was then to play through the C next turn and fork the board. So if you were wondering why I'm not making a proactive move here instead of playing lodge, a move that would open parts of the board, like maybe something like deco, or some word through the C that actually forks the board, that makes it impossible for Deen to block everything. It's because I was planning on doing that next turn, and with the threat of jolts in hand at this point, he's not going to try and prevent plays through the C, which is very hard to prevent. I mean, you kind of have to play down at C9. So if Deen plays at C9 here, he's definitely blocking the opportunities that I might have through the C, but he's leaving jolts wide open, and I can just create another threat elsewhere, maybe just playing to this V or something that would allow, or maybe just playing at like 9e that would allow two threats to continue to live on this board. So it's the concept of always having two spots to bingo that I'm breaking here, but only temporarily, because I know that I can just play through this C, and or I hope. Obviously, I don't know for sure. I might not draw a play through the C, but I have to bank on it, and that would allow there to be two spots to bingo. So that was the reason I played Lodge. I played in this spot also because I need to score. But not having this as a possibility of the fork of the board, creating floaters, or a bingo to end in T, and creating ethics possibilities. Not having that, I wouldn't have made the play of Lodge, I don't think. So he plays row and leaves one in the bag. And now I thought that I had a chance here with tresses. I didn't actually run the numbers. Oh, I did. Yeah. So it's sort of, I think I was at like maybe a third to win here. Basically, if Deen can't bingo back, I win. And look, I drew all three S's. But if he can bingo back, I obviously lose. So yeah, it was Quackle says it's a coin flip, but it's not really. It's more like probably third of a chance, because of the a fact that I mentioned earlier, that Deen is balancing his rack as best as he can in these situations while trying to block a little bit. So I think it was less than 50% chance that I was winning this game, but it was actually a decent chance that I was still winning. But he had internal. I saw infernal internal, and like, good game, well done. And Deen wins 403 to 368. This is a very interesting game strategically, near the end of the game, where there were lots of interesting board dynamics going on. Of course, playing cancels here was obviously not so great, but I felt I needed to score, and since the C is here, it cannot be overlapped. There are no two-letter C words. I knew that there was still the possibility of reopening the left side of the board with a play through the C, or, yeah, to it. So, of course, I made a couple of mistakes this game. Fawn might have been a mistake. QI, I think, was definitely a mistake. And could have been a mistake. Fascia was the first unforced mistake, I would say. I should have just seen that play. And then, yeah, and then AC was fine, but yeah, Lodge, I think, was a mistake. I should have played Lodges. I don't know if it would have made a difference. You never really know, but you have to just keep trying to make the best plays. And until you're making all the best plays pretty much all the time, it's really not useful to think about bad luck in the game. It just puts you down on yourself, and it doesn't improve your game. Some people think that maybe if you are less down on yourself, or if you're more down on yourself, then you might get better quicker, because you're just the fires inside of you, and there's validity to that as well. But I think my philosophy here is that really you cannot focus on luck when you've made pretty clear mistakes in a game. Even though I played this game pretty well overall, there were some improvements I could have made, and I didn't make those improvements. So if I lose, I lose. So yeah, good game to Deen. Again, if you are unfamiliar, Deen is pretty much a chess grandmaster. He never got the title because he had some health issues when he was getting up there. But he's one of the best chess players in Canada, and he switched to Scrabble, or he was playing Scrabble for a while, but he switched to competitive Scrabble after focusing mostly on chess, and he's a formidable player, and we've played so many times. And after this game, he was one game behind me in our head-to-head standings, and so I was I was really worried about having to face him again this tournament and him equalizing things again. So I guess you'll have to find out what happened unless you're snooping on my results already, which are available on Cross Tables. I would recommend just waiting and seeing what happened in the other games as we go on this adventure together and we relive this horrible nightmare of a tournament that I had. All right, catch you guys later.